Hey there! Have you ever wondered why some people pull back from you, or why certain connections never quite feel genuine? You're in the right place, because today we'll be going into the real reasons people might secretly dislike you, and how understanding these can change the way you connect with others. We'll explore 9 surprising habits that could be holding you back, and by the end, you'll have a whole new perspective on how to build authentic, positive relationships. In this video, we'll use Stoic philosophy to examine what's within your control and how small shifts in mindset can transform your interactions. So, settle in and get ready to discover some powerful insights into personal growth. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss more videos like this one. Are you ready? Let's jump right in. Self-importance, the weight of ego. A sense of self-importance can slip into our lives quietly. Sometimes it's not that we're openly arrogant. Rather, it shows up in small, almost invisible ways. The need to be acknowledged first, the urge to correct others, or the subtle feeling that our time is more valuable than anyone else's. People can sense this energy, and over time it creates a gap between us and them. Instead of feeling appreciated or valued in our presence, they may feel dismissed or belittled, as if they're extras in the story of our lives. For the Stoics, humility is one of the core paths to wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, constantly reminded himself that the true value of life isn't about being seen or praised by others, but about quietly working toward a life of virtue. He knew that ego is like a veil that clouds our perception, making it harder to see others clearly. Ego tells us we deserve special treatment, that we're entitled to recognition, and that others should revolve around our needs and opinions. But this mentality, while often invisible to ourselves, is clear to others, and it can push them away. Try to think of ego as a storm that stirs up the waters of the mind. When we allow ego to take over, it distorts our view of the world and the people in it. Instead of listening to others with an open heart, we may find ourselves focusing on how their words affect us or reflect on us. We miss out on genuine connections because we're too caught up in ourselves. In contrast, a mind freed from self-importance becomes calm, like a still ocean that mirrors the world as it is. Only then can we genuinely see and appreciate others without the constant distraction of our own needs. So, how do we start releasing ourselves from the grip of self-importance? A simple practice is to make a habit of shifting focus. When in conversation, consciously set aside the urge to bring the spotlight back to yourself. Listen actively and seek to understand without judging or comparing. When you feel the need to be right or to prove something, pause and ask yourself if that need serves anyone, or if it simply serves the ego. Humility, as Stoicism teaches, isn't about devaluing ourselves. It's about recognizing that everyone, no matter their status or story, has intrinsic worth. When we can set aside our ego, we create space for genuine respect and openness. Over time, this calm, humble presence becomes magnetic. People naturally feel drawn to those who listen without the need to be seen, admired, or praised. Ironically, by letting go of the need to be important, you'll find that your relationships become better and more meaningful, rooted in mutual respect rather than competition or self-affirmation. Perfectionism, when standards become shackles. High standards are often celebrated as a virtue, but when they grow into perfectionism, they become a source of stress and tension. The need for everything to be just right can make those around us feel like they're constantly being judged or falling short. leading to an invisible pressure in our relationships. Even though perfectionism often stems from good intentions, like a desire to achieve excellence or avoid mistakes, it can turn into a force that holds both ourselves and others hostage to unattainable ideals. Stoicism teaches us that life, like a well-tended garden, requires space and patience. A garden cannot flourish under constant pruning and scrutiny. In fact, trying to control every detail can suffocate natural growth. Similarly, relationships thrive on understanding, forgiveness, and acceptance. Marcus Aurelius understood this balance, reminding himself to accept both the world and people as they are. He emphasized the importance of focusing on what we can control, our actions, choices, and responses, and letting go of the rest. Perfectionism, however, traps us in a constant cycle of trying to control outcomes. It often turns minor flaws into significant disappointments, making us hyper-aware of everything that doesn't align with our ideal image. When this attitude spills over into relationships, others can start feeling as though they are always falling short, like they're never enough. This energy becomes exhausting, and eventually, people may begin to distance themselves to escape the feeling of being constantly measured against invisible standards. Try to practice this exercise next time you feel the urge to correct or improve something or someone. Ask yourself if it's genuinely necessary or if it's your perfectionism trying to take control. What would happen if you let things be, accepting them as they are? Perfectionism doesn't just limit others, it limits us too, by robbing us of the ability to appreciate the present moment. Life doesn't always follow a script, and people aren't meant to fit neatly into our expectations. The Stoic path invites us to replace control with curiosity, seek beauty in imperfection, and focus on nurturing rather than fixing. A small but powerful shift in perspective can transform how others feel around us. By letting go of the need for perfection, we create an environment where people feel free to be themselves without the fear of judgment. Over time, this acceptance deepens trust and strengthens bonds because people can sense when they are valued, not for what they do, but for who they are. Emotional reaction, becoming a storm for every breeze. It's only natural to feel frustrated, disappointed, or even angry at times. But when we allow these emotions to take control, reacting to every minor issue with heightened intensity, we risk creating a tense, unpredictable atmosphere that others begin to avoid. Constant emotional reactivity can make people feel like they're walking on eggshells around us, unsure of when a seemingly minor comment might trigger a strong reaction. Over time, this instability pushes people away as they seek environments where they can feel calm and understood. The Stoics teach that emotional resilience is the key to inner peace. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, urged his students to recognize the difference between what is within our control and what is not. According to Stoic wisdom, the events and words of others are beyond our control, but our reactions are something we can always choose. When we allow external circumstances to dictate our inner state, we surrender our power, becoming vulnerable to every small inconvenience. A Stoic mind is like a fortress, steady, resilient, and unmoved by the world's temporary chaos. Think of emotions as waves on the surface of a vast ocean. When we react instantly to every wave, we let the surface storms take over, losing sight of the deeper, calmer waters beneath. Emotional reactivity often blinds us to a broader perspective, trapping us in immediate frustrations and preventing us from seeing the bigger picture. But if we practice calmness, we can learn to observe these waves without being tossed around by them. This doesn't mean suppressing feelings, but instead learning to respond thoughtfully. with awareness rather than impulse. The next time you feel anger or frustration rising, take a moment to pause and breathe. Give yourself space between the trigger and your response. Ask yourself, will this matter in a day, a week, or a month? By building this pause, we allow ourselves the chance to choose a response that aligns with our values rather than a knee-jerk reaction. This is what the Stoics refer to as mastering one's passions, not ignoring feelings, but shaping them into constructive, intentional actions. When you practice emotional resilience, people around you feel a sense of calm and safety. They know they can speak their minds without fear of unexpected outbursts or judgment. Over time, this steadiness makes you someone others trust and respect, someone they seek out for support rather than avoid to escape drama. In the end, emotional resilience not only strengthens our relationships, but also helps us cultivate a life of inner peace, one where we're no longer at the mercy of every passing wave. Envy poisoning the mind. Envy is a silent toxin, often masked by politeness or casual remarks, yet its effects are powerful and lasting. When envy takes root, it shifts our focus from self-growth to silent comparison, drawing invisible lines between ourselves and others. Instead of appreciating what others have achieved, envy makes us feel as if their successes somehow diminish our worth. And while envy is rarely voiced out, people can sense its presence in subtle ways: the backhanded compliments, the distant attitude, or the lack of genuine enthusiasm for their accomplishments. Over time, this energy can create an uncomfortable distance. Stoicism emphasizes that our peace of mind comes from within, not from comparisons with others. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to be content with what you have and to seek fulfillment in his journey, rather than in the pursuit of others' lives. To the Stoics, envy is a form of self-sabotage. It distracts us from our growth and keeps us in a constant state of dissatisfaction. By focusing on what others have, we fail to appreciate the value of our own path, and in doing so, we create a gap between ourselves and others, fueled by unspoken resentment. Think of envy as a shadow that follows us, distorting how we see others and ourselves. When we let envy dictate our thoughts, we can't see clearly. Every interaction becomes tainted by a sense of competition or inadequacy. But when we embrace Stoic wisdom, we realize that comparing ourselves to others is futile. Our true fulfillment lies in nurturing our strengths, embracing our journey, and letting go of the need to measure up to someone else's life. If you find yourself feeling envious, use it as a moment for self-reflection. Ask yourself, what does this feeling reveal about my desires and insecurities? Often, envy is a signal that there's something we want for ourselves, but haven't yet pursued. Rather than letting it consume us, we can use this insight to take positive action, set new goals, work on your skills, or celebrate the unique strengths that only you possess. The Stoic approach to envy is about redirecting focus inward. By cultivating gratitude and learning to celebrate others' successes as well as our own, we free ourselves from envy's grip. This mindset not only brings peace, but also attracts others who sense our genuine support rather than hidden rivalry. Over time, you'll find that letting go of envy strengthens relationships and brings a sense of contentment that comparison could never provide. Manipulativeness, the hidden agenda. Manipulation is often subtle, a quiet attempt to control people or situations for our benefit. But no matter how carefully we think we hide it, people usually sense when there's a hidden agenda. Manipulativeness erodes trust, creating a feeling that interactions are less about genuine connection and more about influence or control. The more we try to pull strings behind the scenes, the more others feel entangled and ultimately they begin to resent it. Stoicism values honesty and integrity as foundational virtues. To the Stoics, manipulation is not only unwise, but a betrayal of one's character. Marcus Aurelius spoke of living in alignment with virtue and treating others as we wish to be treated, with respect and transparency. When we're manipulative, we lose touch with our own core, shifting away from what's right and moving toward a version of ourselves we might not respect. Manipulation is a fragile web. Eventually, it always collapses, often costing us the very relationships we tried to control. The Stoic approach here is to strive for sincerity, communicating directly and with honest intentions. If you find yourself wanting to guide others in a specific direction, pause and ask if you're doing so from a place of respect or from a desire to control. Trust is a rare and valuable currency. Instead of risking it for short-term gains, focus on cultivating genuine, open relationships. When others sense that you're coming from a place of sincerity, they'll feel naturally drawn to your presence and won't feel the need to guard themselves against hidden motives. Lack of accountability, escaping responsibility. Few things breed resentment faster than the refusal to own up to mistakes. When we constantly dodge responsibility, shift blame, or refuse to acknowledge where we've fallen short, others feel abandoned and unfairly burdened. Accountability isn't just a good trait, it's the backbone of trust. Without it, relationships start to feel one-sided, with one person always carrying more of the weight. In Stoic philosophy, accountability is seen as an essential part of self-mastery. The Stoics held that virtue isn't just about doing right when it's convenient, it's about owning up to our failures as well. Taking responsibility is what builds resilience, allowing us to face our flaws openly rather than hiding from them. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that everyone stumbles, but the key is to recognize it, learn from it, and grow stronger. Reflect on how you respond when things go wrong. Do you immediately look for excuses, or do you take a breath and own up to it? The next time you're tempted to dodge responsibility, pause. Embrace accountability as a way to strengthen both your character and your relationships. Owning our mistakes doesn't make us weaker, it makes us more reliable, trustworthy, and respected. Over time, others come to see us as someone they can count on, even when things aren't perfect. Inauthenticity, the mask you wear. Authenticity is rare and precious, but it's something people can feel instinctively. When we aren't being true to ourselves, we often come across as insincere or disconnected. Inauthenticity, even if it's not intentional, creates a gap between us and others, making relationships feel hollow or forced. It's like wearing a mask. You might think it's keeping you safe, but in reality, it's keeping others from truly knowing you. The Stoics believed in living according to one's true nature, finding strength in being honest and straightforward. Marcus Aurelius constantly emphasized the importance of being genuine, understanding that pretense only complicates our lives and weakens our character. When we're authentic, we're at peace because we're no longer juggling multiple versions of ourselves or trying to meet others' expectations. If you notice yourself putting on a mask to fit in or gain approval, take a moment to ask why. Authenticity isn't about being perfect, it's about being real, even if that means embracing our flaws and differences. When we drop the need for approval and start living in alignment with our values, people respond to us differently. They sense our honesty and feel comfortable being themselves. in return. Real connections begin when we allow ourselves to show up as we truly are, free of masks, expectations, and pretense. Pessimism, the clouded outlook. Pessimism might seem harmless, even practical at times. However, a consistently negative outlook casts a shadow over interactions, making others feel as though every conversation is clouded by doubt or criticism. When people repeatedly encounter negativity, it drains their energy, making them less likely to seek your presence or support. While it's normal to have worries and concerns, constant pessimism can gradually repel others, creating a cycle where isolation only reinforces more negativity. Stoic wisdom teaches us that our mindset is within our control. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself to look for the good and to appreciate beauty and resilience in everyday life. From the Stoic perspective, our thoughts shape our reality, and by training our minds to find value in even the simplest moments, we cultivate resilience against negativity. It's not about forcing yourself to feel optimistic all the time, but instead choosing to direct your focus in a way that uplifts rather than pulls down. If you catch yourself drifting toward pessimistic thoughts, try to shift your focus. Look for one positive aspect in the situation, no matter how small. Practice gratitude, which helps ground us in the present moment and reminds us of life's intrinsic value. When we adopt an open and appreciative mindset, we naturally become someone others want to be around, someone who brings light rather than casting shadows. Over-involvement crossing boundaries. Offering support or advice is often a well-intentioned gesture, but when we start crossing boundaries, overstepping, intruding, or trying to fix others' lives, we accidentally create discomfort. This kind of over-involvement can make people feel as if their privacy is being undermined, as though they're incapable of managing their own lives. While it's natural to want to help, Stoicism reminds us that genuine respect means honoring others' boundaries, allowing them the space to find their own way. The Stoics taught that every individual has their own path and their own lessons to learn, and interfering too much can hinder that process. Epictetus often reminded his students to focus on what's within their own control, meaning we're responsible for our own actions and choices, not those of others. When we respect others' journeys, we acknowledge that each person's life is a unique and sacred experience. If you notice a tendency to step in uninvited, take a moment to reflect. Consider if your help is genuinely needed, or if it might be more respectful to simply offer quiet support. Trust in others' ability to navigate their challenges. The people around you will feel more comfortable, more respected, and more inclined to trust you when they sense you're there to listen rather than to direct. Respecting boundaries strengthens relationships and shows confidence in others. That, in turn, nurtures genuine trust and connection. Thank you for watching our video on 9 surprising reasons why people secretly hate you. We hope you found this information valuable and that it inspires you to work on yourself and become the best version of yourself. Remember that change starts with small, consistent steps. Stoic philosophy teaches that we all have the power to shape our inner lives and, in turn, our relationships with others. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more valuable content like this.